Hello and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I am Mike Woods with Denodo. Today I have the pleasure of talking with Ty Sonagere, Director of Analytics of Akron's Children's Hospital. Welcome, Ty, and thanks for joining.
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me today.
I look at a traditional, kind of company. You
Yeah.
have operational, analytics folks, and then you
Yep.
have kind of store people, for instance, in retail, which is my
Yep.
background. Is it operational people and then, nurses, doctors, or who uses this data?
Yeah. So could be anybody. And so the way our hospital is set up, we have our enterprise analytics team, and that consists of um, half clinical analysts and half operational analysts and data governance. And then we have the technical team as well.
Okay.
Um, and so we focus on, yes, there's clinical data that we would help out a provider with or a nurse. There's
Right.
also the operation piece of, why are people canceling their appointments, and can we look into um, scheduling if we somebody meets a certain criteria,
Right.
or is it probable that they're going to schedule based on XYZ, things like that. So our users are pretty much anybody in the hospital. I'll also say our organization is set up. I mentioned that enterprise core to analytics. We also we have what we call embedded analysts out in different specialties or business units or operations, and so they basically have a dotted line into our organization. So we have a big community. Those individuals will report up to the leadership in their specialty or business unit. But we all work together. We all use the same data, and they use our team to be subject matter experts on some of the data, where to find the data, and the process around, like I said, that governance piece of the world.
Sure. Getting now into some more specific high interest topics, if you will, kind of within the
Sure.
data, the data strategy. So a lot of people, and it gets back to kind of my question of kind of the data and managing the data and how do we put it all together. There's a lot of talk about kind of data mesh, data fabric, melding that together. Where do you kind of sit on that type of strategy within Akron?
Sure. So if I take a look at data fabric as an architecture that integrates pipelines and cloud environments through automated systems,
Right.
and so we that's on our path. I think that is a um, at this point it's still a nice to have and not a need.
Yep.
And so for us, does it match our three promises? Probably not yet.
There you go.
And
Excellent.
so, but internally, or when I say internally, I'm like me, Ty, as a person. I love the idea. It makes a lot of sense,
Right.
and that's where I want to get our organization to.
Now that makes sense. And I love that you get back to the three promises because I can't tell you as a salesperson, I'll go call on a customer and you go to the website like you're supposed to, and you say, now I see that your objectives, and the person looks and goes, okay, right. But
Yeah,
again, the idea that you're kind of getting back to saying, no, this is, does it help me, treat kids better? Does it, right? Is
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. And I'll be honest. One of the things that we preach through our data organization is don't do data for the sake of data, right?
There
Like,
you go.
is it
Ah,
is
that's
it
good.
cool to have a cloud? Yeah. Do we necessarily need it? Maybe. What
Right.
about data governance? Do we need to define everything? Let's not do it because there was a book that said we have to.
Right.
Let's do it because it's the right thing to do based on our promises, and that helps us navigate different decisions way easier by letting that be our true north.
Sure. No, that makes sense. So let's talk, and I know you're not the CISO, so I'm not going to dig deep here, but
Appreciate it.
certainly security now in today's society is important. How does kind of consideration of security and compliance kind of affect what you do on a daily basis, getting that data to the people?
Yeah. So thinking about it in terms of data. Oh man, help me out with the word democratization. Can't say it.
Democracy. Now I can't do it,
Now
Ty.
I messed it up. Oh wow.
Democratization.
Thank you so
Democratization.
much. Yeah. So anytime you have that in play, that means more people, so there's more concern, right? And
Yep.
so the issues are privacy, security, compliance, data quality, and of course, data governance. And taking a look at those key issues through the lens and how to eliminate them, I think proper training again comes
Yeah.
down to that. Understanding how to use the data, when to use the data, how do you store it, like those types of training points are super, super important. I think that having robust access controls is the other piece of the pie that's extremely important. Another one is data governance, and that is both it's access and data use, and using the data properly. Meaning, if we buy data from somewhere, and how are we going to use that data? Are we allowed to use it? Are we allowed to combine it with other data? Like understanding that,
Right.
super important. So you're contractually not at risk of something, right? Um, I think encryption and tokenization is key, and then data classification, right? So a lot of companies have a data classification policy of 4 or 5 different tiers, and so we use the data wiki for that classification, so we know where the data is and what it's classified, and we can do it at the column level, and then also, of course, at the table and database level as well.
Nice. Excellent. Well, we're getting toward the end of our time, so let me now raise up a bit with a couple of questions,
Sure.
and it's kind of this your standard. So, challenges and future. So let's just start with. So, if you had to kind of summarize where your challenges are, kind of today and in the near future, what would you say are kind of the daunting tasks right now for you?
Yeah, I'd say that getting into healthcare and being in other industries, healthcare has a way to go as a collective whole in
Mm,
terms of data. And the thing is, it's so important to get it right. Whether
right.
it's provider master data management, understanding a view of your patients, and then the privacy perspective of that. Who can access what data? How can they use it? I think those continue to be the biggest challenges. I think that the keeping up to date with the new technology, that it seems to be helpful, but how do we get there, right? I mean,
There you
that's,
go.
I guess that's for anybody, but that's
Sure.
that's truly a challenge, is understanding what that roadmap is. And I think I came from entrepreneurial kind of startup background, and innovation was key. It might not be like that in a hospital. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like
Right.
we have our table stakes, and we're going to do that. And so that those are some of the challenges that I've seen in the healthcare space so far.
Nope, absolutely. And so then, what are a couple of the most important takeaways that as our audience kind of listened,
Yeah,
what's the takeaways for kind of building this enterprise data strategy?
sure. I what I said a few minutes ago, and I think it just rings true. Do data things for the sake of your patients or your customers, not just for the sake of data. So whatever that means um, to each organization, I think that's very valid and very important. And I think there's like a point one, point two, and point three to that. It's data quality matters. It's important to understand the business objectives so you can meet those needs with whatever data thing you're doing, and then robust security and compliance. I kind of group all of those things in do data things for the sake of your patients or your customers. The second bigger piece is be flexible and don't chase the latest technology. So is what I mean by that is you have to have your north, you have to have your vision, you have to be willing to change, and it doesn't mean changing every 5 minutes. And so having that roadmap and understanding where you want to go, is it self-service for data? Do you want to keep it in house? Do you want to understand your providers, your patients, your customers, etc.? Understanding where you want to go and what that means for your organization. And then third, it's continue to be curious and willing to learn. So again, technology always changing. Are you willing to learn that new technology? Because it's not that it's going to impact your data strategy, but it might make it easier. You might find out new insights with a new technology that will help drive your data strategy a little bit, but you don't need to gear your data strategy towards that technology.
Bingo.
So those are my three big takeaways for data strategy.
Outstanding, Ty. Well, listen, it has been a pleasure to talk with you today. Thank you so much for joining. To our listeners, hope you enjoyed that and got something out of it. I know I did. If you want more of these type of interviews, please visit the cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews. Everybody have a good day. Thanks, Ty.
Thanks, Mike. See ya.